We're here today to talk about the kind of how our technology works and how we use artificial intelligence. Obviously, most people here probably saw that AI voice has been back in the news. And so we want to talk a bit about how we use artificial intelligence, how we use machine learning, how we use user data, and more importantly, give you all some background on how our technology works. So when you come across issues, when you are using our tool, give you a foundational knowledge on the basics of how our tool works. So quick agenda for today's presentation. We're going to talk a bit about first what artificial intelligence actually is and how we use it. We're going to talk about how we use user data, how we match audio and text to fuel things like our proofing tool. And then talk about how we use artificial intelligence in our script prep tools. And then finally, we'll go over just a couple technical troubleshooting facts. So first of all, how we use AI and what is AI. So this meme I actually think is a little bit backwards because I think most people are actually expecting the Terminator at the bottom. And for the most part, AI is just not there yet. So first of all, what is artificial intelligence? Our AI is simply a computer system or algorithm that has been designed by humans for the purpose of executing a task to benefit humans. Very simple there. It has the potential when it gets much further along in development to be self-aware Skynet, but it's nowhere near that point. I will say also that AI does what it is designed to do for the most part. There are two types of AI, narrow and general AI. So narrow AI is something that's specifically designed to solve a single problem. An algorithm or a computer system designed to solve one specific problem. General AI is closer to what ChatGPT is getting to, but ChatGPT is definitely not there. And that's just basically the idea of something that can do pretty much anything. So an algorithm or an AI tool that can do pretty much anything. It is a theoretical application of generalized artificial intelligence in any domain solving any problem. We're not there yet with general AI. There are also 4 different types of AI. Only the first 2 actually exist. Reactive machine AI, limited memory AI, theory of mind AI, and then self-aware AI. Reactive machines are things designed to perform basic operations. This is the easiest level of AI where they react to certain inputs and create certain outputs. So an example would be an AI computer that can play chess really well. You can map every single potential chess move. They can take the input of what their opponent did in their movement and then determine what is the best move next. Another example is the Netflix recommendation engine. They can take a bunch of inputs, so inputs for what you like to watch, inputs from what other types of their content are popular, and then give you suggestions or outputs based on that. Limited memory AI is an AI's ability to store previous data and previous predictions and then use that to make better predictions. The machine learning architectures become much more complex. A good example of that are autonomous vehicles like Teslas, for example, where they can use inputs for maps and other things, but then also take many other more complex inputs like the car's speed and direction. And then they can also take inputs on how to read the road to essentially drive a car by themselves. Theory of mind AI, where machines get essentially true decision-making capabilities that are similar to humans. This does not exist. Machines with theory of mind will be able to understand, not only take inputs that are factual, but also take people's emotions into account and then make decisions based on those emotions. Droids in Star Wars, for example. Then self-aware AI is where we get down into Skynet from Terminator, and that is AI that not only encompasses everything in theory of mind, but also understands that it itself has its own emotions that impact its own decisions and the decisions of others. So that's where self-aware AI becomes what everyone's afraid of. Just a general overview of what AI actually is. I just want to highlight one thing. Just because something uses artificial intelligence doesn't by nature make it bad. AI, especially narrow and then reactive machine and limited memory AI, are designed to accomplish a task. whether it's good or bad is based on what task it is set upon by its human designers. So how we use AI? We use a training method called the data flywheel. So let's say we launched Swedish support and Norwegian support for our proofing. The first thing we do is we take a publicly available data set. Mozilla has a great resource. There's a bunch of other data sets out there to do the first training run. That gets us to a level of accuracy that isn't something we would expect someone to pay for. So that's why we release something in beta. We then get customers to use and test that tool, upload their audio and text. We then use that audio, data, and text, again, explicitly with permission, and I'll go into our terms of service and what we can do with that data a little bit later, because the user data set will have much more varied much more varied narration voices, types, and styles of scripts, as well as varied pronunciations, and so that it gives us a much broader data set to train that will get us to the level of accuracy that you all expect, which in Pozotron is 99.9% accurate. We then rerun that same training process with that new data and then reprocess all of the scripts that you've uploaded with that new algorithm, which is much more accurate. So it's a constantly evolving process, and the reason they call it the flywheel is it's never stopping. You're basically, as you get more data, you run that processing, it becomes more accurate, and on and on. So that is how the data flywheel works. To give you an idea of what features of our tool are AI powered, our biggest and most complex algorithm is our audio proofing tool, which uses many different algorithms. The biggest one is a forced alignment algorithm, and I'll get into how that works a little bit later. Our pronunciation character guide suggestions are powered by algorithms based on a number of different inputs, and then scan occurrences as well. We have some other features, but those are the main ones that are AI powered. For example, our audio analysis tool, which we've released recently, is more of just a technical analysis of the specifications of that audio file that's uploaded. It doesn't use AI and machine learning to the same degree. Okay, let me take a deep breath here. So how do we use user data? Everything that a customer uploads into our system is governed by two things. So first of all, what type of user data do we receive? We receive a script, which is called a transcript in our terms of service, and your audio files. Those are the two forms of user data that we use to train our algorithms. Full stop. Those are the two pieces of data that we use. These are governed by our privacy policy and our terms of service. We go to great length to make sure our terms of service is extremely clear on what we do with user data and how we use it. In terms of what we can do with your scripts and audio files, that is governed by what's called the permitted uses in our terms of service. And you can go to studio.pozotron.com/terms of service to get a better understanding and read through that. And please let us know if you have any questions about that. I'm just going to get the exact wording of these permitted uses so I can read them to you. So there are basically three things that we can do with this data in regards to machine learning and training. So the first one being, we have to actually process the audio and the script to provide the service you're paying for, that being the proofing service or the pronunciation guide or character guide. So that, in legal terms, providing the services here under. Two, we have the right to use this your data for research, development, and troubleshooting, debugging, and testing of the services. That is basically allowing us to, if you have a support ticket, for example, and you share a project with us, we can access it to help you solve that problem. Pozotron staff cannot go into your project for no reason and just go play around with it. That's absolutely not what we can have any right to do, nor do we do it. So really, that's why we have that second right to your data. And then the third one is improvement of the functionality of the services. So that would be using the giant data set to continue training our algorithm to make it more accurate, for example. Or, another example is, as we were building out the character guide tool, we could create a data set of character names throughout our data set. That's adding a new feature that we can use. I want to be very clear. We do not sell your data to anyone. Everything we've built is internal. Your data does not get transferred out of our server our database for anyone else's use. Our terms of service specifically exclude and prevent us from using that data to create an AI likeness of your voice. We are not doing that. There are companies out there doing that. We are not doing that. The other thing we cannot do is map, I'm trying to think of the exact wording, but essentially map the performative element of the human voice to allow that to train a better quality AI, a better quality AI replicant of a voice. So just want to be very clear. Our terms of service govern what we can do with your data and what we do with your data. We are a company that believes in the art of audiobooks. I've been very public and very clear that I believe the art of audiobooks requires a human. If you want to see examples of me saying that publicly at APAC, feel free to reach out. We have it all on video. Our company, our business does not exist without human narrators, so we're not in the business of replacing those narrators with technology. Any questions about that up to this point? Okay, so now how does our proofing feature work? So we have something called forced alignment, a forced alignment algorithm that we've built from the ground up and is the core of the value of our technology. Forced alignment is matching what's being said to a transcript of that text, which is known in advance. Okay, here's a question from MT, and I don't know for sure who that is. Any chance your company could be bought up in the future and the data repurposed? So yes, there's a chance we get bought up, but the terms of service under which you uploaded the data apply to that data in perpetuity unless you agree on an updated terms of service. So when a company makes a material update to a terms of service, so let's say, for example, we were purchased and that company decides, yeah, we want to use all this data to create AI voices. They would have, that's a material, which basically means significant change to the terms of service, and they would have to notify, if they purchase the company and the data set, all customers of that information. It is important to notice, to recognize as well, that all customers have the ability to irrevocably delete data from our system. So if you're in a project and you go to the bottom right of that, project, click on delete project, that project will be completely, and we can never recover that data for our use, or for yours, I should say, from that system after 7 days. So it is deleted within 24 hours from our main database, and then we have 7 days of backup, so it would be deleted there. So they would, in theory, be able to use that data for whatever they want. However, they would have to notify you of that. You would have the right to then delete your data from the system and stop using Pozotron. So they can't do it carte blanche, but they would be able to do it with your permission and by notifying you that they're making that change to the terms of service. That being said, I will just say what I've said publicly a couple of times as well. It is very important. Read. I'm guilty of it as well. I get a new phone. I don't read the terms of service, but they exist for a reason, and you need to review these kind of things to make sure the company that maybe is not as upfront as we are isn't trying to pull the wool over your eyes. So I would recommend everyone read the contracts before you commit to anything. Very good question, MT. And we also have that in writing as well on, we'll send out a couple links to an AI and data FAQ page we have. And if you go to our website, click on features and then AI algorithm, there's some links in there for where we put all this stuff in writing. Okay. So our forced alignment algorithm. So when you upload your script, we run a few different things through that script. So the first thing that happens is we detect the language of that script. We then parse the book, which essentially means, let me just pull up my notes here. So parsing the book basically takes your book from the PDF, EPUB, or docx format and converts it into a clean text file that removes all the formatting and everything and allows us to then show it to you like you can see on the screen. We then normalize the book, which does a couple things. It tokenizes, it splits every element of the PDF into individual words. And then this is the biggest one. So if your script says 2012, 2012, by default, an ASR system would expect you to say 2012. What our normalizer does is said, okay, the numbers 2012 without any spaces between them, that's probably a date. So we would expect someone to say 2012 or 2012. So that normalizer basically takes what's in the text and then changes it from a literal representation of that text to what a regular person would say. So that normalizer is extremely important for the quality of our proofing.
And I think so. Probably Jack DeGoya, if he's still here, used to bring up all the time things that weren't normalized. We got so much good data back from people about times, about dates. There's a couple other abbreviations. And so anytime we get feedback about normalization, that's super, super helpful. So never be afraid of that.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Jack. It's very, very helpful. Anytime we get, I mean, we say it, and I don't know if people actually believe us, but but 99 times out of 100, that feedback is incredibly helpful. So the final thing we do in the book is we use the pronunciation, and I should say the character extractor, where we actually do the processing to extract all of those suggestions for our script prep tools as well. Okay, then once you upload your audio files, we run another different pipeline. So we again detect the language to make sure you've uploaded a Spanish chapter to go with a Spanish text, because obviously if you match a Spanish text to a German audio file, it's going to create some problems. We then run an ASR algorithm. ASR stands for Automated Speech Recognition, which essentially allows us to detect every single word said in the audio file. We then run normalization on that audio file as well, which extracts a whole bunch of information. And then that's where, with this alignment section, that's where we actually take the text file, the audio file, and match them together. So a question we've gotten a couple times recently is, I uploaded chapters, there's 10 chapters in my book. I've uploaded chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't have the chapter 5 audio file yet, but I have 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Is that going to create a problem? It will not. Our system automatically detects the words in the audio and matches that to that section of the text. You don't have to upload all of your chapters in sequence. You could just have a 10-chapter book and just upload chapter 5. And it'll match directly to that section of the text. So just so everyone knows, it doesn't matter what order you upload everything in. It is designed to automatically match the words in your text, the words in your audio file, to the correct section of the text.
There is one caveat, though, for that we run into every once in a while. You can't record chapter 1 and 3 in the same file.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes,
you do have to split those up, because you want to know if you missed chapter 2, if you have a file that's chapters 1 through 3. So it will detect the front and end of sequential text. But
Correct.
Sometimes if you want to skip a big section in the middle and keep it in the same file, that's when Pozotron will tell you that something's wrong, and that is by design.
Yeah, and that's just because obviously, as Ryan said, it's a big problem if you miss a big section of text. And the way our system works is it can't really just skip, 5, 10 pages in a script file that way. One of the last things we do is determine pauses, and then we run billing. So the last step, so a lot of people say, I'll answer that question in a second, Lauren, good question. One of the questions we get is, I had an audio file fail. Did I get charged for that? The reason we have the billing at the very last step is if any of these other steps, and I think it's actually, I haven't shown them all, it's about a 12 or 13 step process, which each of them being fairly complex. Billing happens last. So if any of the other things fail, it doesn't charge you for the project. And that's on purpose, or for the audio file, because you shouldn't pay us for something that doesn't process correctly. The other question we get is, I uploaded the wrong audio file. Do I get charged? Or, I uploaded the wrong audio file or the wrong manuscript. Can I just change it and not be charged for it? We incur a bunch of costs through our servers, our cloud server providers, for running all of these steps. So we've actually incurred our costs as soon as the pipeline finishes. Most of the time, we will just, give as long as it's not a repeated, dozens of hours a week that are having to be refunded for the same customer, we'll give a refund. I believe very strongly in keeping customers happy. And so if an issue comes up, just email us. Most of the time, we'll be pretty understanding and provide a refund for that. Okay, question for Lauren. From Lauren, what if you upload segments? Would the pay-as-you-go account be charged multiple times if, for example, you upload chapters 1 to 7, then later upload chapters 8 to 14? No, so it only, as long if you uploaded chapters 1 to 7, those audio files multiple times, it would charge you for that. But if you upload chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7 as one contiguous or separate audio files, it's only going to charge you for the length of that audio. So that is how our proofing feature happens. Essentially, you upload a script, we do a bunch of processing on that script. You upload your audio file, we do a bunch of processing on that audio file, matches it together, and then gives you a list of all of those discrepancies. One other question to note about our sensitivity feature that I didn't put on this. You do have the ability to set our proofing sensitivity to relaxed, normal, and extra sensitive. Basically, what that does is going from normal to extra sensitive decreases the threshold for which we will show a potential mistake. So basically, extra sensitive means it's going to show you even the most minor potential mistakes that we flagged. And at relaxed, it's going to significantly increase that threshold. So it'll only show you the really big mistakes. We believe that you should have as much control as possible over your number of annotations. Obviously, no two projects are the same. An audio recording of a medical dictionary where you have a ton of Latin names of diseases and stuff like that has to be a level of pronunciation accuracy that maybe a romance novel doesn't need to have. And that's an example for anyone who records romance novels. Definitely not saying anything bad about them. But that's that idea there. You'll generally see, so you all know, from normal to extra sensitive and from normal to relaxed, an increase or decrease of about 25 to 33% of suggested annotations.
And if you want a little bit more data about the threshold for sensitivity, Pozotron will always, even on the lowest sensitivity, find every missing word, every added word, every clear mispronunciation, every long pause. So even at the lowest sensitivity level, everything that we advertise will be noted.
Correct.
The normal and extra sensitive are like dropped letters or tonality changes or things like that, where there's maybe a little shift in how you say a vowel or a consonant. So the base proofing tool works even at the lowest sensitivity, but you just get more kind of precision about beginnings and ends or individual sounds within words as you kind of move up the scale.
Good. Yeah, very good point, Ryan. Question from Curtis Litchfield. You know what, actually, I am going to answer this at the end if that's okay. So it's a very good question, but I'm going to answer that at the end. It's a very good question. Okay, script prep. So if you've never used our pronunciation or character guide, the way it works, it scans your script and gives you an output of every word our algorithm believes your average narrator may not know how to pronounce. Those are based on capitalized rare terms, complex words, and foreign words. You can also toggle on capitalized common, and I'll explain what that means. And then also you have custom words, and those are words that you add in yourself in that custom word box. Complex words, we use two different approaches. One are what's called trigraphs, which are three-letter combinations that linguists have graded as more likely to create a complex word, or complex word to pronounce. And then we have a number of word databases. In English, for example, we have over 150,000 words in there that we've actually used a number of different procedures to grade the complexity of those words. And that's how we use it to suggest the complexity of words. We are also have built-in functionality and are continually optimizing this to make it so if a word, so let's take, for example, on this list, the word luminous, which is, I don't know, fifth down, I guess. Hopefully you can all see that, and the screen's not too small. If we suggest the word luminous to in 100 different projects and it's never actually added to a research list, we'll stop suggesting that as a complex word. We're going to start using more user data from usage data that way to inform the quality of our suggestions algorithm. And again, all of this usage data is anonymized, just in case I didn't make that clear before, which I might not have. Just because you upload something and we use it in our training data, we can't tell who the speaker is. We can't tell anything. We take out random snippets of text and audio from your files. It's not an easy to identify audio file that we can say, hey, I can tell this is Ryan Hicks's voice. Not at all. Yeah, so it's fully anonymized. I should have stressed that earlier. Capitalize rare words. So this is based on the words have to be capitalized in the book. So generally you're looking at proper nouns, and we have a number of different databases again that we use in different languages to identify those proper nouns, names, place names, that kind of thing. Foreign words, very clear. If a word is not in that language, it's going to be suggested. So if you've got the word agua, for example, in an English book, it's going to suggest that as a foreign word. And then capitalized common, this is just basically showing you an output of every single capitalized word in the book, which will dramatically increase your number of suggestions, but it has a use case for some people.
I'm going to add one more thing in here as well. Ever since the beginning of the pronunciation guide, we've had different types of questions about phrases. Pozotron is not great at picking out phrases or even combinations of words and like full names. Sometimes it will, sometimes it doesn't. But you can use the add custom word box, which is up at the top of this picture here. And you can put phrases in there to put on your pronunciation guide. Pozotron's not necessarily going to find it, but I even checked today, some 2- and 3-word phrases are in the dictionary, and it will come back and play back those. If it doesn't come back though, you have the option to customize your word phrases and do your own recording. So just because this wasn't necessarily designed to automate finding phrases, especially Latin phrases or foreign phrases, it works exactly the same once you put them in the custom box.
We're also just about to release next week a feature where you can export the Excel for your pronunciation project, make a bunch of updates in that Excel file, and then re-import that Excel into your project, and it'll automatically populate all of those changes in terms of adding and deleting words, changing the phonetic text. So it's a way to easily bulk update your project as well. One more thing, we do get questions occasionally. One example, and I know this because I use Alice in Wonderland as one of the demo projects I do, is sometimes you'll send Oxford or Forvo a research word, and we don't control what we receive back through the API. Alice is in the name Alice, for example, it always sends us back Alice band, the pronunciation for Alice band. Why? I don't know. Unfortunately, that's out of our control. I have actually told Oxford about that exact issue. It hasn't been solved yet. So to some degree, especially with Forvo, because it is the Wikipedia of pronunciation resources, it is crowdsourced. We can't always guarantee it's going to be the perfect pronunciation you get back because we don't run a pronunciation dictionary. But lots of ways that we're working on optimizing and controlling for that in the future. Oops. Okay, finally, character guide. So our character guide tool basically shows all of the capitalized proper nouns, pulls all of the capitalized proper nouns out of the book, and then checks it against multiple name data sets that we have. So we're constantly evolving this. You know, one example is the more rare of a name, the more likely our algorithm is to miss it because it's not found in any known data set. So if a name is completely made up, what's the one you constantly use, Ryan?
There's a couple. Lagzoor is one.
Lagzoor, Lagxoor. It's not going to be found. It's a name I'm assuming Ryan made up. That is just going to be missed occasionally by our algorithm. That's where you can use that add custom word box. We're also, as I said, using that user data to continue optimizing and improving our algorithms.
There is the other side of that as well. If you have a super common word that's a name in the book, like the name Chase, it's not going to necessarily, Pozotron's not necessarily going to come up with that. And again, that's when you just add that custom name into the box, and it still does the same referencing and counting and reporting. So if you're reading through the book and you find a name that Pozotron hasn't picked up, just put it in the box and it automatically adds it and sends it through the processes.
Yeah, the other thing I want to say there, it's less likely to miss something if the names are capitalized because it does pull the capitalization. Another example is the name Victoria, which is the capital of the province I live in, and also a name. So sometimes you will see if Victoria is in there as a place name, it may be added as a character name just because it's hard for our system to differentiate between the two. Stay tuned in the future for some really impressive, and I've been talking about this for a while, but the team is working on some really unique, cool tools to pull more information out of a book for character suggestions and more cues from the acting side of things. A dialogue detector that'll show you every line of dialogue from a character or every cue about that character's voice in the book. So we're building some really cool AI tools to help you parse a book to inform your acting and how you should be performing these characters. So it's going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay. Any questions before I go into a couple common troubleshooting FAQs, and then I'll take the last questions. Unfortunately, it looks like I didn't update the picture on the slide either.
And we do realize this is a ton of information. So we have a copy of this. I will have it up on YouTube at the latest by Monday. So anyone who wants to go back over this stuff, it will all be in this format.
And one thing I will say as well, you can book a meeting if you use the book a meeting link inside of your Pozotron account right on that main welcome page. I'm happy to discuss the details of our technology, details of how we use user data and AI or really anything else. So if you have access to my calendar, feel free to book a meeting for either myself or Ryan, and we'd love to take your questions.
There's a great question in the Q&A from anonymous attendee. I think.
Is there any likelihood of Pozotron's Proofer becoming a standalone program that can be bought outright and hosted locally? In short answer, no, that's not in our plans currently. Maybe in future, who knows, but it's not currently in the plans.
It wouldn't work really as it does right now. Like it would be it would be messy, but wonderful. And then we have a question, what exactly does the character feature do? It's a combination of things that narrators have asked us for. After the pronunciation guide came out, quite a number of narrators are asked, well, is there any way to separate the characters out from this, but generally do the same thing? So we made another tab that does the pronunciation style work, but also adds new features that are just for characters, like the ability to add voice notes, recordings, notes about what they sound like, and it's set up just a little differently.
My Pozotron project here, Ryan?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good, because I find Zoom it's very difficult to know what it's actually sharing.
That's feisty.
Yeah, so Daniel, there's a couple of things you can create. You can add a character photo in here to actually, one, I can't remember who it was, but someone had a great suggestion. All they needed to perform one character, the only piece of cue they needed was a picture of Matthew McConaughey's face. That told them everything they needed to do for how to perform that character. So you can enter in character description, so cues from the book about their physical appearance or their attitude, notes about their voices, or their accent, or the tones that they speak with. Then you can actually record yourself speaking for up to 30 seconds in that character's voice and refer back to later. So that's how our character guide works. If you want a demo of that, please use the book a demo feature either on our contact us page or inside of your Pozotron account.
We also have people who have been extremely happy with the character voice guide because you can move all of the work that you've done from book 1 into book 2, into book 3 of the series. Yes. So you can continue world building without having to redo any of the work that you did previously.
World building, I love that. I'm going to steal that for my demos from now on. Okay, a couple quick troubleshooting facts, then I'll get into the last 2 questions, and then we'll take any more. So script processing issues. So obviously you can upload your projects in PDF, Word, or EPUB formats. Because of the way PDFs are set up, there are some peculiarities in the way sometimes they're processed. I will say some similar companies with relatively similar technologies, many of them do not accept PDFs whatsoever because it's such a messy format. We have cut down our number of ligature-related issues. And so a ligature is when, I wish I'd put up a picture of it, when in your PDF, because of the type of font used, two text characters are connected. So it's often with FF or FI or characters like that. And that basically means when a PDF gets OCR'd, which means optical character recognition, which is one of the stages of our book parsing, if there's not white space around that entire character, our tool, as well as if you tried to import it into Microsoft Word or otherwise, can't determine if the F and I are connected, can't determine is that an F, is that an I. It actually just creates this weird combined character that can't be mapped to any of the 26 characters in the English alphabet. So we've reduced our number of ligatures through a bunch of different development projects by, I'd say, about 95%. We get very, very few of them now, when previously it was our most common troubleshooting issue. So we've made huge progress there. Footnotes is another thing that comes up from time to time. If you have a properly formatted Word document, so using the actual footnotes formatting in Word, Pozotron will 100% of the time ignore those footnotes perfectly. In PDFs, unfortunately, because there is no differentiation between the footnote and the rest of the text, there's a cropping technique that we can show to cut those out. And if you ever have this issue, please just reach out to us and we can show you exactly what to do, because there are some things that are a little bit out of our control with PDFs in particular. And then cropping issues, this does come up from time to time. If you've got a PDF that's been exported through InDesign, for example, and you've got some of the bleed markings for where the actual print is going to happen, sometimes those can throw off our book parsing as well. But we have solutions to solve all of these things really quickly and really easily. Sometimes you get a file that gets stuck, as most people refer to it, and that's where we've got either a heavy load on our systems or a particularly troublesome file with a bunch of weird stuff in the text, for example, that's just taking a long time. If that ever happens, we are working on a cancel and restart upload functionality, but from a user perspective, that's a ways away. But we do have the ability to restart something. So if anything's ever stuck, it's not moving, send us an email and we can usually get it restarted quickly on the back end. And our tech team and customer support team, including myself, are very, very responsive. We'll usually get you an answer. Usually get you an answer really quickly. Noise detection, we are just about to go through a complete retraining process of our noise detection algorithm that will also include the ability to separately control the sensitivity for noises from the sensitivity for vocal word mistakes. So that's coming soon. And we're also going to have an ability for you to be able to report incorrect noise classifications. I know there's been some funny stuff we've seen on social media about, there's no pig in my booth, Pozotron. Why are you suggesting there's a pig oink in the background? That's coming as well. And upload mistakes. Mistakes happen as long as they're not something that, continuously happen and we're refunding hundreds of dollars per month to a given customer. If you make a mistake, you upload chapter 5 twice, send us an email. 9 times out of 10, we'll probably say 99 times out of 100, we'll give you a refund on that. And one other consistent question we get. Currently, you can replace your manuscript as long as you have not uploaded any audio. The reason you cannot update your manuscript after you've changed your manuscript, after you've uploaded audio, comes back to the way our pipeline works. So once we have run the chapter pipeline, we have already done the alignment, which basically maps the audio file to where it's found in the text. If you change the text, we have to completely rerun both of these pipelines, for which we will incur all of our costs again. So that's why, if it happens from time to time, yes, we'll refund you. If you make a mistake, we'll refund you. But that's the reason why, is to reprocess things. We basically have to redo all of our work and incur all of our costs to reprocess it once you upload that new manuscript. So hopefully that makes sense.
Plus on that one, if you've done any work on the earlier chapters and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is the wrong, you would lose all of the work you did. So everything would just break.
Yes.
You would lose any work you've done. The alignment would be off. Any reports that you've made, it would all be busted. So
yeah, you can think of it as a way to think of it. If you built a house based on some architect plans and then completely change the architect plans, you'd have to rebuild the house. Is kind of the idea there.
I can answer Jack real quick.
Okay,
Jack
so
says,
let me just, oh, you can read his question.
yeah, Jack says, I work with a human audiobook prepper. Is there a way that she could put her work into Pozotron's character section and I can then use when I get to recording the project? Would she need a Pozotron profile and membership? There's a couple different ways you can do this. If you know that she's working with you in advance, you can upload the script and then give her access to that project. And then she
Just use
doesn't
that
need,
blue share button you can see here on the top right.
yep. So she would need an account if she's going to come in and change things. But if you just wanted her to be able to do kind of a read-only thing, then you can hit a different share button and then she doesn't have to have an account. And there's no extra charge for having however many people you want on a project. So the project owner is the one who pays for it, and then you can share it however you want with whomever you want.
Yeah, and the reason someone has to have their own account is they have to go click in and accept our terms of service and privacy policies, because we take the security of your data very seriously. So no one can ever access your data without them having created an account that we know who it is and who's accessing your data at any given time. Good question. I'll answer Curtis Litchfield's question now. What kind of end user do you target? Is it largely an enterprise solution, or would a freelance Amazon ACX voiceover narration performer find this to be a good solution for their part-time business? Our end users are anyone and everyone. We have narrators who have recorded one audiobook ever, up to some of the most prolific in the industry. We work with small production companies all the way up to some of the big 5 publishers. So anyone and everyone, there is a workflow, whether you're a freelance proofer, an editor. So what I'd recommend, Curtis, you've seen a couple narrators, and thank you very much to AJ and Jack for responding to him there. We'd be happy to book a demo and understand a bit more about your workflow, and then show you exactly how Pozotron would fit into that. So it's a very customizable tool. I'm a big believer in Swiss Army knife development, which basically means our tool works for you regardless of how you need to use it, rather than you having to change how you produce an audiobook to use our tool. Okay, we answered Jack's question. Jacqueline Laughlin. I am new to book narration and getting questions from folks who have books that have been out for years and don't have a script or PDF file. I'm reading by turning the pages on the whole book. Any suggestions of the best format for you to handle, the best way to receive the script? So what you have to do there is, if you don't have a PDF or Word or a digital copy of the book, that does cause problems. Usually what you have to do is you have to go scan every page and then run it through an OCR, optical character recognition tool, which the best on the market is with Adobe Acrobat. And that would then make it essentially a digital file that our tool can read. It will be very difficult without doing that to use Pozotron. It will be impossible to use Pozotron without doing that, unfortunately. I would love it if you could just, plug a USB into the side of your book and make it work, but we're not there yet. Maliva. Do you have an existing demo, or can I get one for the integration with Pro Tools? Yes, you can. I will email it to you right after this. One thing we are working on, I should mention, Lindsay Johnston, who has joined our team as our Director of Marketing and Operations, also a fellow Vancouverite. So welcome to Lindsay. She's been with us for, I think this is week 5. One of the things she noticed right away is we have a very robust set of support features and tutorials featuring Ryan's dulcet tones. We're going to make it much easier to find those. In general, if you see that little question mark up here on the top, you can click through that, and then that will get you to our main support page. But Maliva will send you a very in-depth, easy to follow tutorial on that Pro Tools integration. I'll send it to you right after this. I think that's all of our questions. Does anyone else have any questions?
And again, we realized this was a ton of information.
It's very light material, so good news. It shouldn't be overwhelming.
Can the character feature be added to completed projects, in particular for series? You can add the character feature whenever you want, and it's the same charge.
Correct. And I'm assuming, Daniel, you've already proofed chapter 1 through Pozotron, and you're going to start on chapter 2, and you didn't do your character work previously, and you want to be able to transfer that. Yes, you can. Shoot us an email, and we have a specific workflow for exactly how to do that easily in Pozotron. I just sent a a custom Loom video to one of our big publisher customers who are doing this right now, send us an email to hello@pozotron.com to specify your exact use case and what you're hoping to do, and we can send you a quick custom video for how to do that. It's really easy.
Oh, yep. Same for beginning of book 2.
Yeah. And there is a workflow that you can also, pull existing character samples out of your book in Pozotron as well.
We're trying to make it easy for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Anne. That's very kind. All right. As always, thank you very much for using Pozotron. We really, really do appreciate it. We are trying our best to make your audio productions easier. Please tell your friends if you would like. Oh, thanks, Lesia. If you have any questions, you can email us on more of the customer success side of things, or questions about pricing, hello@pozotron.com. If you have a technical support question, help@pozotron.com. Thank you very much for your time. One more question from Daniel. How do I find my banked minutes? Click on your profile page, click on billing, and there's a little credit minutes box at the bottom. Page will also show you how much you've used your of your subscription that month. And if you do have any friends that don't know about Pozotron, you can click on your profile, click on refer a new user, and you can send them a code there where they can sign up for an account, and you will get a bunch of benefits for that. So thank you very much, everyone.